So I wanted to respond a while back. An African American woman, or at least somebody I would assume was an African American woman, meaning a black woman. I don't like the term African American woman because I believe that black Americans, like white Americans, are distinct from their ancestors. Okay? I believe that they were acted upon like white Americans by certain forces such as natural selection, sexual selection, etc., and they are inherently different than their ancestors, just like I believe white Americans are inherently different from our European forebears for the same reasons. Uh, we were acted upon differently by natural selection, sexual selection, etc., and we are a different animal than our European forebears. We are not the same thing as our European forebears. I believe, that's enough of that. I don't want to get my video banned. So this black American woman had explained to me that I need to stay away from African spirituality or African folk traditions, or I forget how she put it. And she was referring to hoodoo and voodoo. Now, voodoo can indeed be seen as a traditional African tradition. But it's not really, and I'm going to get into why it's not really. But first, I'm going to get into hoodoo because I have begun to I've begun to practice hoodoo again, simply because I'm familiar with hoodoo and I practiced it as a youth and I practiced it as an adolescent. Certain family members of mine have practiced hoodoo. It's sometimes called powwowing. The Pennsylvania Dutch tradition of hoodoo is called powwowing. Essentially what it is, hoodoo can be thought of as like witchcraft to Wicca. Wicca, or Wiccan, is the religion of Wiccan, okay? Or of the Wiccan religion. It's the religion, it's the ethics, it's the morality, it's the codes of conduct, it's this, it's that. You don't have to practice magic to be a Wiccan. You don't. Now, people have made it so intertwined together that you kind of do in the modern sense, but that's not really until witchcraft and Wicca kind of became one thing in the public mind because of popular books on the subject written for mass market consumption by feminists and things of that nature. The Wiccan tradition, in my opinion, has to be an Anglo-Saxon tradition. It has to be. If you are not practicing an Anglo-Saxon tradition, you are not practicing Wicca. That's my opinion. Okay, because Wicca or Wiccan, like Wiccan is the plural. Wicca means a male practitioner of the Wiccan religion, and Wicci means a female practitioner. It's actually Wicha and Wichi and Wichan, but I'm not doing that. It has to do with the Old English pronunciations of those words, okay? These words have bupkis, to borrow a Yiddish word, to do with witchcraft. Witchcraft is a magical tradition that doesn't necessarily come from the Anglo-Saxon tradition, but the word witch does, okay? So that's where they get confused. And many practitioners of the Wiccan religion practice witchcraft, okay? So hoodoo is sort of the same thing. Hoodoo is kind of like a magical tradition. It's an American magical tradition. It's uniquely American. And it's uniquely influenced by uniquely American elements that come together in this American environment. And I see hoodoo as a type of Americanism. Hoodoo is very similar to the types of magic practiced by Satanism, traditional LaVeyan Satanism. Real hoodoo, American hoodoo, is heavily influenced, as I stated, by the powwowing tradition of the Pennsylvania Dutch or Mennonite and Anabaptist communities. It's heavily influenced by like Amerindian practices of shamanism and shamanic tradition. It's heavily influenced by European Wiccan traditions, which is Irish witchcraft, predominantly from the Appalachian area. So it's very different then it's not uniquely African. It is influenced by African traditions, like from the Yoruba people, similar to hoodoo and voodoo. I mean, similar to voodoo and Santeria and brujeria. Although brujeria does not have to have any African tradition, it can be completely Amerindian or completely Amerindian and Catholic or anything like that. The point is that there's nothing inherently, I shouldn't say nothing, but what makes hoodoo is the concept that it is not uniquely African or uniquely black, but that it is a mixture of these different elements. In fact, there's a heavy influence of Jewish elements in hoodoo. Most of the hoodoo mail order catalogs were started by Jewish entrepreneurs in the United States, where you get the hoodoo soaps and things of that nature, like the body washes, the floor washes, the laundry soaps, things like that have this special the magical herbs in there to draw luck or attract somebody to you or things of that nature. What makes hoodoo unique is that it's very influenced by botanical herbcraft, the use of minerals, the use of animal curios, things of this nature. It makes use of physical things. There's a lot of emphasis on the I did a video, I'm going to leave a link to my videos on voodoo, hoodoo, Santeria, and brujeria. And I talk about the pharmacopoeia of voodoo. And that's where it is very similar to voodoo or some of the more Amerindian traditions, is it puts a lot of stock, or even alchemy, because it puts a lot of stock into the traditions of the actual use of these materials more so than the use of other things. Like more so than the use of energies or things of that nature. It's putting use into the chemical structure of these things. And that's what I think is unique about hoodoo. But that doesn't make it uniquely black or uniquely African. It's uniquely American, is what it is uniquely. And that's all for this video. I just figured I'd make it while it was on my mind. I'm going to leave links in the description. Oh, no, it's not all for this video. One of my ancestors, one of the ancestors that was the witness, one of the witnesses of the golden plates, a gentleman by the name of Hiram Page, was a root doctor. Now, a root doctor or root worker or what have you is the name of somebody that works with hoodoo, okay, works with that type of tradition, or with powwowing, or with voodoo, or one of these things. So there are obviously, and most people that work with hoodoo are not voodoons. They're not practitioners of voodoo. They're practitioners of Christianity, usually, but they don't have to be practitioners of any particular religion, because this is the magical craft of hoodoo. It's not voodoo, which is an actual religion. So that is another key point. Now, Louisiana voodoo is kind of like a bridge between the two, between hoodoo and voodoo. It takes a lot of emphasis on the craft of hoodoo, but it also puts a lot of emphasis on the loa, and that's important to understand. The loa the loa are the different spirits, the ancestor spirits and the nature spirits. What in the Egyptian tradition would be called Nataru, like the Temple of Set would call them the Nataru. Or in the European traditions, we'd call them elementals or divas and things like. It's very essentially what you will find with magic, the undercurrents of magic, is magic tends to be uniquely human more than uniquely anything else. And that's what I said. In order to really understand magical traditions, you have to come to the conclusion that being this tradition or that tradition is neglecting the need for an eclectic experience to understand, what's going on with the whole human experience of this thing. And I think magic is a natural science. I do. I believe that it was a natural science before science was a natural science. And I believe that more people need to look into the magical traditions, again, for the universal truths of these traditions. And that's all for this video.